Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week of, hey, I just want to showcase some cool music since we only have a fraction of a week as far as release days go, since I wasn't able to post anything on Monday. Today I want to check out some JINJER, some old JINJER. In fact, this was my favorite album of theirs called Cloud Factory. I found out about JINJER from the King of Nothing album, which was when they really got big in the US anyways. But this was the album that came out before that, and it doesn't have Vlad on drums, which kind of hit and miss for me. I really like Vlad's drumming, but I also don't know that it would have worked so well on this album. This album hits really hard because of the drumming that's on it. But I think this might be a song that, even if you're a fan of JINJER, you might not have heard. Cloud Factory, just as far as I can see, just never really picked up as much in the JINJER fandom as much as some of the other ones. So let's dive into this. See what's going on with the track No Hoard of Value. We have the sound of hammer on nail and drills. Really great at setting the scene for this. That little rundown on the vocal melody. Good cool guitar work right here. Keeping the energy up on this side while having that rhythmic syncopation, giving us the driving feeling. Heavy, driving intensity. Bringing in some groove. Interesting little idea here, groupings of 6-8, putting us in a 7-4 with asymmetric groupings. Bringing back the idea from that second verse of having a more constantly moving guitar idea over here, and then the driving syncopation stuff on the other side. layered vocals here. Aggressive, slightly dissonant harmonic ending to this track. All right. So, this was very different from the other side of Ginger that I had seen at the time. I believe I found out about them through Pisces. Like, I'm sure so many stories, so many people's stories start. And, just a fan of chronological ordering as I am, I figured if I'm going to dig into this band, I'm going to start from the beginning. And at the time, it was pretty much impossible to track down Inhale, Don't Breathe, which I think was an EP that they released before Cloud Factory. Very different in style. I'll say if you want to hear a very different take on Ginger, well, actually Spotify has it now. Definitely track that album down. It's an interesting ride. But since I couldn't find that one, I started with Cloud Factory, and this was a bit different from what I expected, and I quite enjoyed it. A lot of this song is about a push and pull of tension. It's about a contrast. We have the melodic elements of the verse that we actually, of the chorus that we actually start the song on, and contrasting that with the heavy, driving, unrelenting oppression and weight of the verse and the outro of the song, even parts of the bridge, just really creating this forward momentum, this forward energy. You can't stop it, you can't escape it. It's not just pushing you forward, it's also compressing you down with the overall weight of the sound. It's just a lot of uncomfortable feeling, especially for me. It kind of leans into like a death metal area, which is kind of hit and miss for me. Death metal can be very extreme to my ears at times, and this song certainly gets to those points for me. I'm definitely, as far as palatability of the parts of the song that I like, it's the chorus. It has a beautiful melody to it. The melody has great phrasing and narrative movement throughout. It's a nice linear line, and at least on the first time through the chorus, we do have that nice rundown at the end that I pointed out in the reaction. It's a beautiful melody on top of some cool driving, I'd say like metalcore-ish sound. It works for my ears a lot better than the rest of the track, but it's the contrast that really makes it stand out. Because we start off the song with this lightness. Then we hit the first verse and we bring that energy, that intensity, that compression in, and then we hit that chorus again, and it feels like this weight has been lifted off of us. I love that moment, almost like I can breathe for a second. The weight has been pushed off of my chest, and I can take a deep breath that I haven't been able to for a while. It's like coming up from being underwater for a long time. This push and pull we get throughout the beginning of the song with the alternating verse and chorus, but we also kind of get that towards the end of the song too, with the bridge bringing the energy down quite a bit. And it's sort of just meandering for a second until we get into the dig faster section to wrap the song up, which is just pure compression and weight until we have a small bit of release. And that release is just this guitar riff that's dissonant, it's uncomfortable, it's pure tension to wrap the song up. Instead of the song allowing us to relieve tension with a beautiful melody line. Instead, we relieve tension with, or we relieve the weight with tension. Not something that I think most people would talk about being a relief, but in the context, it is. A little bit of that weight has been pulled off of us, but it doesn't really improve the situation. We're just put into a different type of negativity. This push and pull is everything to this song. It's the heartbeat behind it all. It's what allows it to work the way that it does. And we'll touch on some of this when we hit into the lyrics as well, because there is this push and pull lyrically too. And the ending being as aggressive as it is, leading into that tense final 10 seconds or so, it's reflected in the lyrics too. And I think that as we go on with this week, you may find this to be a recurring theme, is that the music dictates one thing thematically, narratively, emotionally, atmospherically, and the lyrics line up with it really well. It creates a very uh, cohesive work of art where every part of it excels and elevates each other. And as I picked out the 4 songs for this week, I started to recognize that in all of them. And I was like, oh, maybe that's why I harp on about cohesive songwriting so much on this channel. It's not necessarily something I think is necessary for art, but it is something that I value a lot in the art that connects with me. And I kind of knew that, like on the periphery of my understanding of my biases in music, but I don't think it ever like was written out so clearly for me before. um, the instruments in here, I love the instrumental work. The guitar riffs, whether it's the faster constant 16th notes that are kind of swirling around that constantly shows up on the left side, it's just like this rising and falling quick of a bunch of notes. It almost feels like a note cluster, and often my ear hears it as dissonance. I think that the notes themselves are probably consonant in harmony somehow, but having them played so quickly in such a small gap, there's not really a lot of large leaps. I think it's all half and whole steps that fit within the chord. It all kind of muddies together into almost hearing the full chord all the time simultaneously, and that creates a lot of tension in there. But it's also paired and juxtaposed with the other side, the guitar that comes in here with those rhythmic dicka dicka dun, dicka dun, dicka 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 dun, and those rhythmic ideas, a syncopation where we don't always start that first hit on the downbeat. Sometimes it's on an offbeat. The groupings aren't the same. The first one's like 5, and then we wait a little bit, then we bring in like an 8. Um, and this is juxtaposed by this just constant noise, this buzzing almost over here, and I think that works really well, creating this feeling, this atmosphere, and then having the other guitar give us this driving energy, almost a groove that just keeps the song going. Of course, we have the bass kit going on here as well, leading up with what this guitar is doing, and that with the bass just drives this whole section. Vocally, we've shifted to growls. They typically line up more with this rhythmic stuff over here. And so it's almost this machine where there's this constant buzzing and then we use it sometimes. Um, and like this electrical flow you can always hear, like a buzzing of an electrical circuit, but you're not using the device constantly. And it's just, when we get to the lyrics, this is all going to make sense, I promise. Um, But yeah, we also have a lot of aggression in here. The first verse starts out on this, and then we move. I actually think the first verse starts on something more aggressive, just a constant alternating bass and kick. Um, Very fast, very aggressive, constant movement. The 2 guitars just have this fast riffage stuff going on, and then we break to that halftime noise with the rhythmic thing. I think that's how that goes. Um, it's always interesting doing this. When I listen to these songs, very rarely am I listening critically. I'm usually just taking it all in, probably how a lot of you do it too. And this is honestly one of the first times that I've really analyzed what every instrument is doing and breaking it down and understanding how it fits. So Yeah, sometimes I misremember things because it's more of a feeling of the song that I have in my memory, more so than like an exact map of how things are planned out. Um, but yeah, so this aggression comes from everything: the guitars, the bass, the drums, the vocals. It's all just creating this forward pressure that just pulls the listener through the song, through the section until we get back to that chorus again, and it just lifts us up, and we have that melody that comes in, and the instruments kind of lighten up a little bit. This takes us to the end of the track, which I think continues to just have a really cool groove to it. We have that nice guitar lick that comes in with the palm muted ideas. And I'd mentioned, oh, this is where the groove comes in. I guess this was like right before the dig deeper section. And it's very cool, I think, for this section to get all atmospheric, kind of introduce this rhythmic element, kind of feel a bit lighter, as if maybe things are going to get better, and then it doesn't. And this part, this false hope, drives us into the heaviest, most compressed, weightiest part of the entire track, and everything comes together for a single rhythmic idea. We have the vocals, the guitars, the drums, the bass. They're all doing one idea, and it's just super heavy. All the notes that are chosen are really low. The vocalist goes for some of the lowest growls I think that appear on this album at all. And it just feels compressing, like the walls are closing in, and there's just nothing you can do about it. It's a simple idea. Not going for any of the layered complexity, not having the dual guitar lines. We do have a few vocal layers, but again, it's singular in nature. They're all doing the exact same thing. It just adds more weight and compression to it. It makes the song feel bigger, not more dense or complex. The point is to simply add weight to the song. And then, of course, at this tightest moment of the entire track, it lets up just a hair bit to give us this, I don't know, cyclical, swirly, no directioned tension on a guitar lick. It's not, rising and falling in some sort of like cyclical pattern. It's just sort of existing. There's no chord progression to it. There's nothing that feels like there's movement at all. It's just sort of a static layer of tension to it. And to me, it just speaks about this moment in the song. I mean, we end the track on this. The only relief we have from that heavy weight is being stuck here in this negativity. Not a great feeling. A lot of this song doesn't work for me musically. There's some cool riffs. I like the drum work in it. Lots of accentuated syncopated bass kick stuff going on that I think works really well. But quite a bit heavier than I typically like to listen to. But like with yesterday's video with Capra, it's the lyrics that's going to pull it all together for me. Now, I'd mentioned that the chorus acts as a bit of uplift. We have some melody in here, which is sort of removed from everywhere else in the track. It's also a bit lighter as far as instrumentation in this section, too. The reason for that is because this stanza that is sung during the chorus is one of, it sees this primary person, the caveman, as a real person. It says, "Hey, caveman, when did you see the sky last time? How deep is that treasure that you're told to find?" This idea that the use of the word caveman is really interesting here because it is a man in a cave talking about miners here, mining for whatever they've been told to come down here for. It's a dangerous job, and one that doesn't really get a lot of praise. It's not a particularly fashionable job to have. But it says, when was the last time you even saw the sky? When was the last time you could appreciate the world around you? It says, how deep is this treasure that you're looking for? How far down here do you have to go? How far away from the surface of where life is do you have to go? How far away from humanity are you pushing yourself to? It says the reflect of what you feel and what you breathe, is that what you really are? So who you are down here, a reflection of this portion of yourself, is that who you are? It says, what's your life so far? This seems to have some sort of empathy for the miner. It says, is this what you really want to get out of life? Down here mining for someone else, looking for a treasure that someone told you to go get? So far distanced from your loved ones, from humanity? Stuck down here in a cave, breathing in all the stuff down here. None of the rest of the song has any sort of positive emotion for the miner. In fact, most of the rest of the song views the miner as a tool, not even a person, just something to get them this whatever they've been told to go get. Whether it's coal or diamonds or gems or whatever's down here that needs to be got, they're just a means to get it. The first verse, as the intensity of the song ramps up for the first time, explores the situation that cave miners are in. It says, quench your thirst with spit. It says, make a bed full of trash. Do you think that you're doing well? You can wash your face with sweat out of shame and disrespect, but day by day you wake up in sorrow and go to work in hell. I mean, just really talks about the harsh conditions of being a miner. But also, we're going to get into some class politics here. You never see the rich being miners either. It says poverty and hunger are everything that waits for you outside. So, if you didn't have this job, you'd just be homeless, right? So it says stay in here and we'll take care of you. Relax. You're unlikely to endure anyways. Basically, you're going to perish down here regardless. You're going to die out there of hunger. You can die in here of the dangerous conditions. It doesn't matter. Just relax and accept the way that things are. We'll take care of you. It's a promise, right? As if those in charge have ever taken care of those under them. Well, I suppose that's it's a bit nihilistic. There might be some times throughout history. It's so often, though, that we see the opposite. The second verse says, once the dust eats your eyes away and you've donated your sweetest apathy, you still sense your brother's hollow heartbeat and the gruff voices of your family. I can see furrows on this face fouled with fly ash. There's nothing remained but a tiny piece of coal in your chest. So your eyes have been eaten away. Visually, this may be just the conditions of the job. You've lost your vision. Maybe not all of it entirely. Maybe not literally have gone blind, but hasn't been great for your eyesight, living in darkness all the way down here. But it could also be metaphorical, that you've been blinded, that maybe you do believe that this is where you belong, that this is who you are, and that this is the best place for you, that not having this job would be worse off. It says that once you get rid of all your apathy, you can still hear or still sense your brother's hollow heartbeat, but that in the end, despite having your family still near you, that you can still hear them. You hear the voices of your family and all that. It says that you eventually just become nothing. It says there's a tiny piece of coal left in your chest after all this. It hollows you out. It eats you away from the outside in. That working these long hours and these harsh conditions in the total darkness, divorced from everyone else, and just doing all of this manual labor breaks you down, breaks your soul down, breaks you down mentally, emotionally, physically. You come out the other side of this job, maybe not today, maybe not next month, maybe not next year, but eventually you'll come out a different person. Before heading into the end of the song, it says, "Bygone world was deprecated long ago. Now they are here to plunder your home, but don't mourn." So basically, this was your land. This was your home. This is where and this other group came in and told you to go do this mining. So they force you to do this work, and you're plundering your home. You're taking all of these minerals and resources out of the earth for someone else. It says, but don't mourn it. And this is where I think the song becomes insidious. I have seen a couple of interpretations of the next couple of stanzas, the final bit of the song, view it as a positive message that workers should rise up and put the hard work in to overcome their oppressors, but I simply can't see it, particularly because of this line right here, that they've destroyed and ravaged the world, and now they've come to plunder your home, but don't mourn it. And this is a bit of where propaganda, I think, works its way into this narrative, where the vocals are about to become heavier than ever. And it's not a cry for freedom to push forward, it's the sound of the oppressors crushing the workers down. Because after this, it says, abandon all hopes of freedom. No hoard of value can replace it. Basically saying that no matter how much wealth you might accrue, you will never get your freedom back. Give up. It's not worth it. You'll never get it back. Don't even think about freedom anymore. It says, punch a blunt fang of this rusty cavil into stones. Come on and fracture another course to the better world. Get down to work. And I think it's that line about fracturing a course to a better world that people latch on to. I think it's about fighting for freedom. But I honestly think that this is part of the propaganda of the oppressors, telling you that this is all for the good of things. You're not destroying your planet. You're not taking all these minerals and resources from the earth around you. You're not pushing forward climate change. This is all for the better. So come on, get your tools, start cracking down there, right? Right after this, we have dig harder, faster, deeper, harder, repeated over and over with more aggressive vocals, more heavy instrumentals, lower and lower growls. This feels oppressive. This feels like the walls are closing in. This is just crushing weight. This is not the sound of revolution. This is the sound of boots being put down on the working class. And like I mentioned at the very end of this, there is some levity. The weight does get lifted a little bit. You can breathe a little clearer with the boots off your neck just a bit, but it's filled with distress. It is not a moment of relief, just one of a different type of stress. Now, on the surface, this song is about miners, but I think it's about a lot of capitalism. It's about infinite growth. It's about the lack of concern or empathy for the working class, especially those who are battling poverty, those at the lowest, most vulnerable part of our societies, being forced to do the worst, the most backbreaking, the most dangerous jobs in order to have a moment of not even relief, but just less tension, less weight put on them. And of course, that these jobs are given to them by a system that has the boot on their neck, anyways. It's all about misdirection. It's not us, it's them. We'll give you the opportunity to get money when, of course, this company giving you this opportunity is also part of the system that has its boot on your neck. And I think that's where the propaganda angle comes into this, leading up into that final section. But I did see another read on this, a third layer, if you will, just recently, that this is an overall indictment of capitalism in general. That the idea of mining for a deep treasure that you were told to find isn't necessarily about, you know, mining it in order to give to the people you work for, but being told that you need something you don't have. Consumerism, always being told to get that next thing, that your thirst will never be quenched because you'll always be told you're missing that next thing in life, that you must keep digging deeper, that eventually you'll find the thing that makes you whole. And that if you don't have it, you're going to wake up in sorrow and shame. But also, constantly buying all of this has put, at least in America, I don't know how prevalent this is across the world, but in my experience, in my country, it's put a lot of people in debt. They feel like they need to buy things to be happy. And eventually, all that stuff gets put on credit because you don't have the money to buy it right now. And then that puts you deeper and deeper in the hole. Isn't that the phrase? The chorus has an element then that I think rings a little more true, and it says, "Caveman, when did you see the sky last time? When did you take in the natural beauty of the world? When did you find your place? Just in the way the earth is, not trying to buy something that will make you better or more whole or happy, but simply just getting happiness from existence and the beauty that the world has." I don't know that that read works perfectly on every single line of every single stanza, but I do think it's applicable on enough that I like it as a read. I think that's a very cool interpretation, and it does give it that third level, which I like. Good art is deep, it has layers. What you bring to it, well, hopefully you'll get something out of it that's different than other people. I'm glad I could have read that interpretation of this track before doing this video right here. This song stays on my mind. It came out in 2014. I learned of it 2019, maybe 2018. I don't know, somewhere in there. Probably 2019. A little bit before I did this channel. And you can even actually hear me say that in that initial Pisces reaction, that at the beginning of the reaction, I was like, yo, I know Ginger's shtick. I know this whole thing is that she can scream or growl really well, right? I didn't come in, feigning ignorance of what was going on, even though I think that tends to be a bit better for reactions, is to come in. A lot of people want to see your first time listening to it and that shocked value in that first chorus of Pisces, but I already knew of Ginger. And this track has stuck with me for half a decade now, and I continue to think of it at times. The ending and just how dismal it is. Just there's no levity in the final minute of this song. And sometimes it can feel that way, and I think the song does a great job of reflecting that reality for a lot of people. Those are my thoughts. Ginger's No Hoard of Value. What do you think of this? Is there anything in this song that you like to add on to what I said, or maybe correct me on? Maybe you have your own interpretation of things. Put any of that, as well as any other thoughts you might have, in the comment section of this video. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. All right, that wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC, as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.